Welcome everyone to our second in the series of our IQ panel intro for the United Kingdom and other parts of Europe. We're really excited to have everyone on today. We've got a great presentation planned today. Today's a more technical focus. For those that missed last webinar, we talked about an overview of the IQ panel and its differentiating features. We do have a recording of that on our YouTube page, and we'll put a link to that in the chat so you can go back and watch that if you choose to. And if you had registered before and even attended, you would have gotten a link to that in your email. But we'll put one in the chat to help you, refer to that later if you choose to. Today, again, is going to be a little more technical focused. So we're very excited to be able to present Jeremy Blakeney, one of our technical account managers, over the European region. Before we do that, I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping. This session is being recorded. We will add this to our webinar recordings playlist on YouTube so that later on, if you choose to rewatch it, or perhaps you want to share it with someone else who wasn't able to attend, that you'll be able to do so. You will get a link to that presentation in your email later on as well, and so you'll be able to refer to that as well. We also want your audience participation, so please jump in there and find the question or chat box. Type type a message in there to us. Let us know you're out there. I see Marcina and Jonathan have already found that chat box and are saying hello. It's good to have you guys on. Thank you very much. The rest of you, let us know where you're calling in from. We'd love to hear what country you're in. Are you working from home or are you working from the office? Looks like Mariusz is coming in from Poland. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm glad you're on today. And the other thing I wanted to share with you is we're going to do a few polls here. Just to kind of get an idea of the kind of audience we have. The first question is, are you currently a Qualsys customer? I'm guessing the answer from most of you is going to be not yet, since many of you have not yet had a chance to play with the product line or purchase it, but maybe some of you are. This gives us an idea of, what kind of audience we're talking to. If many of you are Qualsys natives, then of course we can tailor our presentation today to a little more of what you're used to. If most of you, which I'm guessing most of you have not been familiar with it, then we'll make sure that we cover the basics as we present today. So really appreciate everyone taking a moment to fill out that poll. Hello, Gary from Edinburgh, Scotland. Glad you're on today. James from Midlands in the United Kingdom. Glad that you're back home after a busy day. Hopefully everyone's having a wonderful evening, that you can hear us okay, and that you'll be able to see the presentation up today. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. And I'm going to ask a second poll here. So the question is, what product line do you currently use for your residential installs? And choose all that apply. It looks like we set this as one of the following. So this poll is actually messed up. So I apologize. Looks like you'll have to choose the one you use the most for your residential installs. This was supposed to be a choose all that apply in the poll, and I apologize for messing that one up. And make sure that my other polls are proper so that we don't end up messing those up on the next one. So I apologize for that. But give us an idea of multiple choice and multiple answers. I'll update that. Let me see if this lets me do that. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll real quick and see if it lets me redo that poll. Yes, there we go. That's better. Okay, so sorry about that. What product line do you use for residential installs? Just choose all that apply. So are you using Pyronix or Texacom? Maybe it's Ajax, Orasac, Visonic, or something else. And obviously, if you're using IQ Panel, hopefully, you just check that other box for us if you're using that. And part of what we want to understand today is, who is the competition? What features are you interested in? Things like that. Luca is calling in today. Thanks very much for joining us today. He says his house is becoming a demo Qualsys system. That's great. Marcine says Visonic, and James says he's never seen a Qualsys yet, but he's super excited to try one out. We're excited for that as well. Simon is working from Cheshire. I've got a good friend who lives in Cheshire. One of our interns, actually, this past summer, it was actually earlier than that. It was probably last summer of 2019. Joined us and lived with our family here in Utah in the USA, came all the way from Cheshire, and we have a special place in our heart for Cheshire. So glad that you're all the way up there. And all right, let me close this poll here, and we're going to launch another poll. And now I'm curious to know, what are you using for your small business and commercial applications? And again, there's the same options there: Castle, Pyronics, Texacom, Ajax, Orasec, or something else. Again, this gives us kind of an idea of what kind of products you're using right now, what kind of feature sets are interesting to you, what kind of price points you're used to paying, things like that, so that we can then really determine the best way to help you understand how to make IQ Panel perfect for your situation. Marcine says, Visonic's missing from the list. We're using Visonic everywhere. That's great to hear. Thank you for that. And I guess we probably should have worded this in a way that, what product lines you're using outside of Visonic, and because many of you are Visonic customers, and want to thank you for your business with both Visonic and IQ Panel and PowerG sensors. So thanks very much for joining us all today. I'm going to close that poll, and now I've got a very interesting question about home automation devices. And I know this is a bit unique in Europe. I'm a little bit spoiled here in the US. We've got a lot of different devices that we're using, and that seems to become a little bit more mainstream. I am curious to know how many of you are actually doing home automation devices in your installs, and which ones. Are there lights, locks, thermostats, doorbell cameras? Maybe it's indoor or outdoor cameras. What kind of extra devices are you installing outside of security? And it looks like there's a good, well, wow, 92% of you so far are saying indoor and outdoor cameras. That's crazy. Doorbell cameras is at 63% and climbing, and quite a few people doing lights and locks. And you guys might even be doing more than the US. It feels like we've got about a 25% attach rate in each of these categories, but it seems like many of you are doing these consistently. So that's great. Now maybe it's we'll have to understand further how often you're doing those on your installs, and how easily it is for you to accomplish those things. But it's really exciting to see that many of you are using these things already, and that this is going to be an even easier and simpler install for you. And we'll get into that today when we talk about the technical side of installing Z-Wave and connecting cameras and things like that. Mike, welcome from Whitstable, Kent. Glad you're joining today. James says he uses Orasec for wireless for Resi. Best thing about the mix and match kit: panel, siren, and any 5 devices. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting concept. Thank you for sharing that, James. Really appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll again. And before you get completely exhausted with polls, I'd be curious to know, what percent of installations are you doing with a maintenance contract? None, 25%, 50%, 75%, or maybe all of them? Curious to know what kind of spread you guys are personally doing. Looks like we're getting about 25% are saying about 36% of you are saying you do it 25% of the time. 12% are saying all the time. So interesting to see that split and that data there. Again, that's going to help us as we go to market with you, as we collaborate with you and understand your needs, to understand how we can best help you monetize some of the features that are part of IQ Panel. I'm going to close that poll, and I've got 2 more, so thanks for being patient with me. Here's the next poll. What percentage of your installations are hybrid, meaning a hardwire and wireless system? Is it none? Maybe it's 10%, 25%, 50%, 75% or more? Is it, are you doing it on every single install? I mean, I think I've got to believe that there's a percentage of times where, and it looks like the vast majority of you are saying none, where it's all completely wireless. But there are times for wired, and are times when you're going to do a hybrid wired and wireless system. And we've got some great products that will make that even easier as well. Thanks for that. And let's do our final poll before we dive into our presentation. And that one, oh, looks like I was, hide the results of that. Looks like that was, oh, that was our poll that was closed. Okay, that was the final polls, is percentage of installations that are hybrid and wireless. That just gave me the option to relaunch the one that we had the mistake on. Okay, well, I want to dive into the presentation right away, and I want to introduce Jeremy Blakeney, who again is our technical account manager over the European region. We also have on the line um, Paul Biggs from alarm.com. So we're glad that he's here, able to answer those questions as well. If you have questions and want to participate in the presentation today, please put them in the chat. We will be answering your questions in the chat, and then at certain key points of the presentation, we'll bring those out and ask them publicly so that everyone has a chance to, hear what question you've asked, because chances are if you ask a question, there's 4 or 5 other people that want to know the same thing. So without further ado, Jeremy, I'll turn the time over to you. Thank you very much for leading this discussion today.
Yeah, perfect. Hey, Jer. And you can hear me fine, yes?
We absolutely can. Thank you.
Okay, cool, perfect. Yeah, thank you. So thanks for the introduction. I'm the other Jeremy in our organization. I work on the technical account management side, or some of you may be familiar with the JCI title that you've been working with previously, a TST. I know Jason Upton is on the line as well, and probably many of you have spoken with him in some way, shape, or form in your region. So yeah, so I've been in the industry for quite a while on your side, essentially, as an installer and a manager of installers and so forth. And I've been with Qualsys for just about 6 years now. And now, of course, we, Qualsys, are part of the JCI family as of this past summer. So super excited. I've been working with Jason and Paul and David Rimmer and Paul Andrews and a handful of others to bring Qualsys to the UK and the rest of Europe, to bring this technology and just a consumer expected product, essentially, right? Something that your clients and homeowners or consumers are looking for and are familiar with. For about the last year now, we've been working to work out all the kinks and certifications and so forth to get into your country. So very excited to see. I work with some of you through email and through these other representatives. So today should be a good hour, 45 minutes or so presentation. And just to give you a very kind of high level overview, I'm going to start with a few slides to talk about the general kind of overview, functionality, and benefits of the IQ panel. What is offered in the UK and generally speaking as a panel, and then kind of dive more into a technical discussion. I'm actually going to share my screen with you all as well. So I know I'm sharing my screen now, but my panel screen, I'm actually going to share my panel screen as well, so you'll be able to see live, real time, right? The kind of in and out and some of the configuration settings and so forth of the IQ panel. So just to start off real quick, we are a company based in the United States, of course. Well, Qualsys was. We were founded in California. Now, from the get-go, building a product that can advance and can continually be upgraded and with the screen and so forth was #1 priority for us. As you know, a lot of, if not everything you're installing today is very similar to what had been built many, many years ago. And when you put it on the wall, it pretty much stays the same for the most part, right? And that's not something we were okay with, to be honest. As we got into the era of touchscreens and iPhones and so forth, that's just essentially what consumers ended up expecting. So we formed, basically these partnerships with a handful of companies that you see on the screen, to be able to bring the product and our vision to life, right? One being a killer manufacturer, Foxconn, right? So they're if not the largest on the planet. They manufacture just about every high-end consumer electronics out there. Android is our backbone. So we'll get into kind of the technical side on how we use and why we use Android. I mean, from the get-go was because, well, it was free. It's open source. We can do whatever we want. And so therefore, we're pulling certain things from, what Android has to offer, and leaving out Angry Birds and leaving out Clash of the Clans and all those other things that you typically play on a tablet, and bringing what is important to the security to the platform. Alarm.com, of course, we work very closely together. We would not be where we are, together with them. We are and see ourselves as a solution with Alarm.com, where we work hand in hand with each other, right? One with the other. We've been working with Alarm.com for 10 years or so now, and we've been able to provide this very seamless, simple back-end remote serviceability solution, to where pretty much everything that you can touch and program on the panel itself, you can do so remotely from alarm.com or from mobile tech, and so forth. So gone are the days of sending an installer or sending a truck out to a different neighborhood and home to, I mean, it could be the most basic thing, right? It could be changing the brightness, or it could be increasing the volume, or changing a configuration, where all this is done remotely. And then Qualcomm is a major part. Qualcomm, we use their chipset, and we'll talk about the architecture here in a minute. They are essentially the creators of LTE and Bluetooth Low Energy, and we use a system on a chip of theirs. So essentially, we get all of these radios and these different communication protocols on one small chipset that allows the form factor of the IQ panel to be what it is today. Now, on the hardware side, bringing this consumer expectation, touchscreens, and advanced level of technology was a major priority. But the other, on the software side, was to be able to, with alarm.com, deliver an experience, a very simple, consistent experience to the end user, right? So they're not becoming so familiar with, or I should say that they use one platform, or one, say it's an iPad today, it's an Android phone tomorrow, it's a laptop the next day, and it's my panel, that they all have kind of this different style interface. If not, we wanted to bring everything together to have that same look and feel. And therefore, for you all, the training aspect becomes much more simple as well, and becomes very, very familiar to the end user. So this chipset I mentioned, so this for those that, I heard in the polls, some people have never seen or had one in their hands. For the most part, I believe they are available. So please reach out to your local representative, your JCI, DSE, or Visonic representative, because essentially we are all the same company. And they will be more than happy to talk to you and get you a panel and so forth, right? But this is the whole thing. This is the only thing that's missing on this screen, essentially, in this panel, is a siren and a battery. So it's not boards upon boards and ribbon cables and all these things. Sure, there are a few connectors, but this is the entire motherboard, right? You can see on the left-hand side, there's the SIM tray. And if you look for the left, 4G LTE global, we are essentially an unlocked cell phone. So this panel, we use this exact same panel everywhere on the planet, literally. So Australia, UK, Spain, wherever it may be, North America, South America, it is the same panel. And what What Qualcomm gives us is the ability to change through some configuration the bands essentially that the carriers work on in those different regions. So for us, being able to manage a single platform, the same software stack, and so forth across all of these different countries and regions just makes it so much easier to develop and to really offer an awesome product, right? So going down, so Wi-Fi 802.11 AC is on board as well. Bluetooth Low Energy. We'll talk about all these. Panel access points building, and then of course we talked about Android, and we'll get into that a little later. And I'll burn through all these here pretty quick, and we'll dive into the more kind of technical thing. But um, you know, having both communication pads affords us this dual path connectivity where we get, you know, this as it says, right, intelligent redundancy essentially. So there is not a primary and secondary form of communication. It's not that one. It's continuously one path, and if that path fails, you know, the panel tries and tries and tries again over the same path, and then eventually falls over to the second path. We're actually sending everything twice. So if you've ever, you know, I saw on the polls that there are, you know, most of you, if not all of you, are installing some type of automation device, whether it's light, lock, thermostat, etc. And therefore, I know every one of you have been in a situation where you know you have an app, you're showing the customer, they want to see the door lock, you press the door lock, and you kind of both look over at the door, and you're kind of waiting, and you're waiting for the door lock, and then you know it's kind of not turning over, and in your head you're sweating, and oh wait, there it goes, you know, and it's kind of this interesting experience. We send everything twice, so that door lock, that command, or the panel going into alarm is being sent over Wi-Fi and the LTE path, and essentially it is a race. It is whichever is received at alarm.com first is that signal that continues, right? So it's practically instantaneous or much quicker than likely you have experienced in the past. And then so we have this mobile chipset, this cool thing from Qualcomm, and now okay, well, where's my PowerG support? Where's the Z-Wave support? And all of those things, right? So as you can see on the board, there's all these little screw posts. The top one, I know it says it's labeled Zigbee, sorry, but we do support PowerG. We support and I will say something off the bat. So we support PowerG, and we're able to support all brands of PowerG on the same panel. Now, granted, you know, one panel will support Bentel, one panel will support Bisonic, one panel will support DSC, you know, for example. But essentially, the same card has the ability to support all PowerG brands, okay? And we support 128 zones. Now, when I say support PowerG, I want to make clear, you know, prior to having been acquired by JCI, right? PowerG was a luxury in North America. You know, you couldn't use PowerG outside of using a DSC Neo panel. Literally, that's all it was available for. Bisonic does not exist in North America. So what we had built was the integration and the support was something similar to what the Neo had to offer, and maybe a little bit more watered down. And then gradually through software updates and so forth, we start supporting more and more. So what I want to get at and what I want to ask is patience as we continue to develop and integrate with all that you know of Visonic and PowerG. Meaning, you know, again, we're not a Visonic panel. PowerG to us was an afterthought. You know, it was, hey, we need to have this PowerG technology, and so therefore we integrated with this separate card. So we will have a lot of, or the very most common, most used configurations and settings for your PowerG devices. There will be in some areas where we may be missing, you know, a certain setting or configuration that you might find in your Bisonic panel, right? So, however, every software update we do more, and I will say something that we hold very near or and dear to ourselves is listening to you all, which is having phone calls and listening to your needs and your market, your regional requirements, and so forth, and therefore being able to take that and change or update, integrate, and improve these little things that we may not have yet, and be able to provide those through a very simple, free, over-the-air, through Wi-Fi software update. So they're one day to the next through alarm.com or through manually at the panel. Those little nuances or those things that you need for your business, you know, we'll be able to realize those for you and offer those to you through a
Jared,
software.
and that's a strong point that I want to make sure that everybody understands, is not only we're listening to feedback and we want to improve, but also the fact that, you know, we are continually improving through software update. Give everyone a couple examples of things we've done through software update, you know, over the past few years. You know, features we've added or functionality we've you know, put on the panel,
Yeah.
and what the
Yeah.
customer requests.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and you know, we have a few slides here coming up that, you know, to a lot of people look like it's just something we've always had. So let me finish this, and I'm going to bounce to some things for you and talk exactly about that. So just quickly running over this now. This and I apologize, this is a North American slide. We will have a CE available 433 legacy DSC card. You know, let's say Q1 next year. Sorry, I'm in my home. And so that is the legacy support. So therefore, being able to support both PowerG and this legacy DSC support at the same time. And that's just, of course, for us. That will not come with EN. That will be a CE certified thing for perhaps in your region. You have a lot of base installs with that legacy protocol. But then Z-Wave in Europe and the UK, actually, it is Z-Wave 700 series. It is the newest, latest, greatest version of Z-Wave. And we do support 137 different types of devices: lights, locks, thermostats, garage door controllers, the Z-Wave sirens, water shutoff valves, and so forth. So moving on to what Jeremy talked about, and I'm going to start with this page and kind of talking and hitting on this offering, and through software updates and you know, the PowerG message that I said earlier. You know, Qualys, we've had this IQ remote. These are all secondary keypads, right? So we have this elegant touchscreen. It works over Wi-Fi. It is local Wi-Fi. You don't need internet for this tablet essentially to work. It will work over the local network and or directly to the panel. Now the other two, again, the one in the middle, not to be confused, this looks like a Neo DSC keypad. It's actually the IOTEGA version, the WS9. It may have a different part number. And then, of course, your typical, what you see more with Visonic, right, is the KP141, and then the upcoming, almost released, the 241, which is just a nicer TV controller than what this looks like. And we support 32 of those. So these are two very good examples of not literally not supporting them, and then through feedback, through customer requests, and so forth, integrating, working with these devices, and over and through a software update, being able to support these two devices. So one very specifically, we've actually supported the KP141 for quite some time, but something we have not supported was the prox tag. So that was introduced earlier this year. I would say, yeah, probably pre-summertime. And we, again, through a software update and through, I know it's big in the UK and in other parts as well to have, and also due to the, perhaps UK regulatory requirements, that it's, needed or necessary or very much desired, that through a software update, we now support that, right? So it is free. You get a new software update. We send out a TSB. Jeremy sends out some marketing typically, and you find out through either a representative or through your email and the list that, hey, here's a new software update. Here are all the new features, and this was one of them, right? And more, oh goodness, more and more with PowerG as we enter the kind of worldwide market, and mostly people using Visonic, that we want to continue to provide support for what you're using today and try to make it as comparable as possible. The few others, right off the bat is cameras, right? Big time. This is 100% directly. We would love to see cameras on the screen. There's a doorbell. We get it on the app. There's a 7-inch screen in my home. Can I see it on the screen? And through a lot of work, actually, with Alarm.com and us, Qualys, and their software and engineering teams, we are able to send not only the video feed, but the push notification to the panel. So when someone presses either of the Skybell and then the, upcoming Alarm.com manufactured by Alarm.com, their own doorbell, it will push to the panel. You'll get this page, answer or dismiss, and you still get it on your app. It's not one or the other. It's just wherever you pick it up from. And then, of course, you get this full 7-inch, awesome HD video, but live, right? It is essentially a monitor, and being able to have all of those same functions and commands that you would have on the app on your screen. The screen might be in the back of your home. It might be in your living room. There might be an elder person that isn't super mobile, and the panel is on the stand next to them in their living room, and they don't have crazy smartphones and tablets and so forth. So this kind of handles everything, and from there they're able to talk back and forth to the delivery man from Amazon or who knows, and unlock the door rather than getting up. Please leave it inside, or unlock it for the family, or whatever it may be, right there from the screen. The other is being able to view the other videos, right? Video cameras from Alarm.com. Some support audio, some don't support audio. They have very specific models that do, but same kind of integration, right? Being able to talk back and forth and pull up a live feed. And then again, it was requested, okay, hey, that's cool, but I have another 7-inch screen in my bedroom or on the second floor, and it's your IQ remote. I want to see video on that too. I don't want to have to go downstairs to the screen. I want to be able to pull it up here. And so therefore, again, through another software update, right? Through another software update, we're able to bring video to the secondary touchscreen of the panel. So just it literally continues, and this is just all fluffy. I mean, it's definitely marketable for you, right? As a a security installer or services company to end user and to differentiate yourself 100%. But to your installers, to them, this is like, okay, cool, yeah. So this is just a task for them to install. But it's not always just big, marketable, sellable features. There are, like I mentioned with the keypads, there are so many little things that that we do and that we build that come from you all, um, to be able to offer a better installation experience for the installers, that makes it a quicker install, and we'll talk about that, or just the way that things are laid out, or better integration with certain devices and so forth. So we have a software update here coming, um, within the next couple of weeks, and in Sweden, it is a requirement from the ARC, or the central station, right, to be able to verify through the peer cams fire. Otherwise, they don't send the fire brigade, right? So we previously didn't have that, and if we did, it was from one camera. So through this software update coming, and this is not regional based, like as I mentioned, right? It's one platform for everyone. So this means all of these other features and things that may be regional based for some can still apply to you and be used. And oh, hey, well, this is awesome. I've never had this before, but because of Sweden, they needed it. I have it as well, and I'm totally going to use this. This is actually something great that I never thought of. So stuff like that, right? So there are lots of just little things in between the big, the big marketable, sellable features. So just quickly, we mentioned the polls. Jeremy, it's great to get this feedback and this information about um, what types of installs you use, or that you install, mostly residential, mostly commercial, same product, yes or no, et cetera, et cetera. We're with supporting PowerG, with having the features that we do, and through software updates, we really are trying and think we're pretty close to being the kind of the one for all panel. I know that in the UK and the rest of Europe, there are likely other strict requirements for large commercial installations, perhaps that we might not be there yet. But for the most part, to have one single product that offers, and we'll talk about a handful of these. We talked about the video and so forth on the screen. To have one single product that you can essentially use everywhere, your day-to-day installation, residential installs, the Subways and Pizza Huts, and whatever it is, the small hair shops, into some schools and warehouses and garages, and mansions that are $10 million homes that are massive, and have a guest home, and all of these things. To be able to offer all of that in one consistent one platform, right? That's you as a company only having to worry about servicing and understanding one single product, and not only for your phone support and your installers, but your warehouse shelves that only has one single SKU, is awesome, right? So partitions are coming here shortly for you. There are some things that, so for example, we'll get into them: Bluetooth disarming, partitions, 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi that due to CE certs and EN, they were not ready at, I'll say quote unquote launch when we entered kind of the market and first started shipping into Europe and the UK, but that are now coming available very, very soon, end of year, beginning of next year for, the rest of the market through software update. But again, 4 partitions, screen lock, and being able to see these photos on the screen. And we'll talk about a few of those. But Jared, does anyone have any questions before I hop on here? There's a few pages.
Yeah, there's so many great questions and comments right now, and I want to address a few of them. We're doing a lot of them in the chat here and addressing the individual question, but I think there's stuff that's definitely worth bringing up to the broader audience. So give me just a second here. So one thing is Colin was asking, is all the communication from the SIM card or the router? And we were talking about, we've been in the chat going back and forth on dual path connectivity. Dual path connectivity is essentially LTE and Wi-Fi working simultaneously. So in the event that your office, router is not terribly reliable, or the internet at your office isn't terribly reliable, the internet, through the LTE connection will pick up the slack, and it does it in real time. There's other competitor solutions out there that claim they have dual path connectivity, but what they really have is single path connectivity with 2 different options. For example, if everything's going over Wi-Fi and your Wi-Fi is bogged down, it will wait until it gets I can't send a signal or a fail out or a timeout before it says, oh, we'll turn on the cell radio instead and send it over cell. IQ Panel is smarter than that. IQ Panel is constantly looking for bandwidth and making sure that it's got all the signal strength it needs on either Wi-Fi or cellular, and it's sending those signals either one or the other, and sometimes both at all times, to make sure the signal goes through. So you should never see a lapse in service. Another great question was, I'm trying to see who asked it, but they were asking about what kind of data goes over the cellular and Wi-Fi connection. Can everything go over cell if, for example, a Wi-Fi connection is not available? And actually, the way it works is almost everything goes over both, but there are some limitations. For example, we don't send a software update over cellular because that would be a lot of data and it would cost you a lot of data. And so in an effort to reduce costs for you, we only send software updates over Wi-Fi. We don't do two-way voice over Wi-Fi because of some of the unreliability of Wi-Fi. So two-way voice will only go over cellular. So, with those exceptions,
yeah,
the other thing is
one more,
video.
One more, Jer, would be images. So panel camera images, you must have Wi-Fi for those.
Yeah, yep, good point. So images and streaming video would all go over Wi-Fi as well. So you'll want Wi-Fi and cellular both connected there. So that's a really, really important one. There's also a lot of questions about video doorbells, specifically Skybell. And maybe this is a good question for Paul. Paul, if you're still on the line and can unmute yourself, there's some questions about the new Alarm.com video doorbell. Will that be available in Europe anytime soon?
Screwy, yes. So current plans, I believe, are Q1 next year.
Q1, that's excellent. That's a lot faster than we expected. That's great. So, and then there, of course, there's a lot of people asking about the Skybell. Does it wire up directly? It does wire directly to the house or the apartment or the building, through the existing doorbell wires. The Alarm.com video doorbell has a little bit more flexibility there when it comes out. There's a lot of questions about things like Ring. So Adam asks, if a customer already has a Ring doorbell, can they pay a subscription and use the Ring doorbell with the system? Well, unfortunately, Ring doesn't share data. They don't want to share data. They don't want to be, play nicely in the sandbox. And so, we don't have an integration with Ring. And to my knowledge, they're not doing that. Paul, is there any additional, color you'd add to that?
I think you've covered it. Right now, Ring is kind of a closed environment, so there's no opportunity to integrate with that.
You know, we're always looking for great partners to integrate with and things like that. But there are a lot of companies out there that, you know, they say, oh, well, we're selling this product. But in reality, what they're doing is they're trying to gather data, and they don't want to share data. They don't want to combine with us. We're, you know, working hard to try and integrate with as many services and functions as we possibly can, because we believe that the solution for the future is an all-inclusive one. But sometimes that means we need to come out with our own products. Sometimes that means we need to integrate with other products that are willing to combine with us. So, you know, in the spirit of trying to find other integrations, trying to listen to customer feedback, if there are particular products that you're really passionate about, products that you love, products that work well, etc., you know, let us know about them. We'd love to hear about them and understand them so that we can look to potentially do, you know, an integration or a collaboration with them in the future. Peter wants to know, is this available in UK grade 3 standard? I'm not entirely sure what that means. Jeremy, can you answer that?
No, it is EN grade 2.
EN grade 2, okay. And then Adam wants to know, can you put like an extra antenna or aerial on for Wi-Fi or etc., maybe something that you know, allows you to get better range? In most cases, we haven't had the need to do this. You know, I would challenge you to put an IQ panel in, connect it over Wi-Fi, and sell, and see if the quality of service is what you expect without needing an external antenna. What we've found, at least here in North America, in Latin America, in Canada, and other places of the world, is that dual path connectivity with LTE and Wi-Fi working simultaneously has been more than sufficient to be able to get the signals in and out of the building, and we haven't needed an external antenna. But again, you know, every country's different. Like Jeremy Blake was saying, you know, every country's different, every scenario is different, and we need your feedback to fully understand, you know, what to do and how to best go to market with your type of situation. So there's a lot more questions, a lot more chats going on, but let's continue on with the presentation. Jared, keep going, and I'm sure we'll address more as we go.
So I want to talk about these two pages here real quick. One is like a health and wellness, and the other is this home control page. You know, just to give a little context, you know, so in North America, the I guess penetration rate, the adoption rate of professionally monitored security is 20 to 25%, right? These are people that want professionally monitored security, right? Now that number doesn't ever really grow. That number is kind of this ever revolving goodness thing, monster. You know, for example, ADT, you know, USA, publicly traded company, right? I mean, they're a monster. They're you know, they install, let's call it 800,000 you know, new systems a year, and at the same time they lose roughly about the same number every year, because North America is kind of this revolving takeover over and over and over and over and over again, and so it doesn't really grow. And that's where the Apple HomeKits and the Nest and the Ring and the, you know, there's some other brands in North America, but you probably have some as well. Google, that are trying to come in. They can't compete with, they're just, as I mentioned, there are just people that don't want that. They want a professionally monitored security system from a professional company, right? A professional security company. But and that's the industry that we are in. That's the industry that you're in. But we want to provide you with tools to grow, and you know, so I'm just using this as an example. Whatever your kind of rate is, you know, North America 20 to 25%, whatever it is in you know, your region, we want you to grow outside of that. It's those other companies that are trying to take 75% of everybody else that says, no, I don't need it for this reason, that reason, and that reason, right? Which is, I don't want monitored security. I only want automation. I live in an apartment building or a flat on the 3rd floor, or I'm, my parents are old and they don't need it. And it's kind of, a scary thing for them and overwhelming. So we've created, again, through software, giving you more tools to not say no. Oh, well, hey, sorry, no, I don't offer that. I'm a security company. So sorry, you live on the 3rd floor, you have a gate and the security guard. Yeah, I can't really help you, right? Well, guess what? That's a customer lost. So we offer you these tools. Well, guess what? That person, they still want to yell at an Alexa or a Google or whatever, right? Turn my light on. I'm lazy. They want that kind of cool factor. They want the automation, that convenience of voice control, of automation, cool factor, whatever it may be, right? Because it's just blowing up. So why say no, right? So rather than saying no, hey, guess what? I have this panel. I use it for security as well. Again, it's one panel. It's the only SKU. I use it for everything. You can hide and completely remove the security screen from the page and use that as an automation only device and still offer a package and a service to them. And guess what? All of those security devices that you would typically install, don't even or ever think of them as a security sensor. All they're doing is providing information and data, and the panel is telling them how to behave, right? That's what it is if you think about it. The panel is saying, I'm arming, and when this opens, I want it to do this, and so forth, right? If I don't have security, they're still communicating to the panel, they're still communicating to the alarm.com. So I can now have that exact same sensor I used to protect my front door. Remember, we're talking the 3rd floor person here in some apartment building. That front door no longer sends an alarm because I told it not to. I told that front door sensor that when it opens after sunset to turn the entry light on, change the temperature, turn this light on, start the coffee, whatever it may be, simply because it's providing that information. I'm open, and only do it after the sunset, and then turn that light off after 5 minutes because I don't need it on. I've already got my shoes off. I got my home. I'm not walking into a dark residence, tripping over some, who knows, a toy on the ground. So being able to provide these other, we call them verticals, to you and your business to expand and kind of venture out of not having to say no is huge. Just this flexibility of dynamically moving the screen around and playing with it. The other is wellness. And I don't know, I'm probably doing something I shouldn't, but I don't know if wellness is available. Paul, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if wellness is available in Europe or the UK.
So the easy answer is yes, but there are
Okay.
some caveats around it. But yeah, generally speaking, I would say yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, awesome. So the other is wellness, meaning aging in place, meaning whatever you want to call it. There's 100 different words, but essentially, my mother, she's X years old. My grandmother is, goodness, she's 85, 90 years old. She still drives a car and goes around, but she lives by herself and she doesn't need security. It's kind of like having someone watch over you and helping you. So it's a peace of mind for my mom, right? Knowing that my grandmother's okay, and it's convenience for her. Again, we're using the same panel, we're using the same security devices, and through software and through configuration, it's all just information. So I can remove automation, I can remove security, I can remove anything that would ever scare her. The door opening and saying front door open, or an alarm going off, or any of that sort of thing. And she sees a screen with a panic button, the end. I can give her a nice little button that goes around the neck or a watch bracelet, and she pushes it, okay, and it calls, the ambulance, medical people. But what all those devices do, those data points, right, is it's providing alarm.com and the panel and the application and my mother information let me show you this screen. Information, sorry, it's fuzzy. Information showing, hey, she's supposed to take her medicine or medication 3 times a day. She never opened the medicine cabinet once. Well, that's alarming to my mother, to my grandmother not taking her medication, right? Maybe they have illnesses and dementia or whatever it may be. And I can see the front door was opened, but then I receive another notification saying, hey, it's been this long. The front door never actually closed, or it closed or whatever it may be. And there hasn't been any movement detected by the motion sensors for 3 hours. Like, where did mom go? Is she on the floor? Did she fall down? Is she outside and she left? Who knows, right? So for my mother, it's peace of mind. For my grandmother, it is giving the video doorbell. It's giving a thermostat, lights, an Alexa device, perhaps, or a Google device, whatever. And to her, it's convenience, right? Kind of talking on the doorbell on the screen again. For someone that may not be super mobile, or they walk home and it's dark, they walk home to a home that has lighting on a schedule. When they open the door, the light turns on, or they get out of bed and a motion sensor detects them after midnight, between midnight and 6 a.m. in the morning, and the restroom light turns on, or the living room light turns on, or the kitchen, whatever it may be, answering the door, unlocking the door, all of these things, changing the temperature, it then becomes a very convenient thing that allows them to not have to get up and run around and potentially injure themselves. And it becomes this convenience for them. So these 2 verticals, we call them, and through software, giving you more tools, more tools to sell, more offerings, more, get out of that. I'm only a professionally monitored, I only offer that one business. That's my bread and butter. Okay, cool. But there's 70 or whatever percent out there that Amazon and everyone else is gobbling up that could be your business instead. And guess what? You are a professional security company, not them, right? They're a merchant. We sell everything. We want your data. We want to control your home, right? You are local. You have clients. You have relationships, and so forth. So, we through that, we support scenes, the alarm.com scenes on the panel as well. And so through the panel, through a configuration setting and whatever is on their app and on alarm.com, or if you create a custom scene, it will show up on the panel. So going back to kind of that automation, one button can do a lot of things, right? One button can, I'm home, unlock the door, turn on the light, change the temperature, etc. Simply by selecting I'm home, or I'm going to bed, or whatever it may be. So I won't spend a ton of time on that, and I won't spend a ton of time here. But talking to you as installers, one thing we pride ourselves on is the ease of install. If we can build something that an end user can install without an issue, then how much easier will it be for you and your installers to install it in a home? And what does that do to the salesperson and their mind for your company, knowing that not only are their installers going to be in and out of a house quickly, they're not there for 8 hours, or how quick a new hire can learn and go out the next day and install a panel so they don't get behind an installation and so forth, because we have this wizard, right? It is, I'm not going to say it's your iPhone, but essentially it's your iPhone, or your whatever you want to call it. It's pull the panel out of the box, hit the start button, and it full on grabs your hand and walks you through right to the end, and out you go the door. And I'll show you kind of more into that in a little bit here. We mentioned access point. I want to touch on this. So our panel has this ability to broadcast its own SSID, and I want to be very clear. This is not a Netgear Nighthawk 5 antennas mesh, whatever, some giant thing that replaces the network in a home that they're watching Netflix through and all of this stuff, right? This is a tool. This is a get you out of a jam. This is, you put in the secondary tablet, you put in a doorbell camera. I know the construction specifically, well, in Europe and the UK is a lot of brick, a lot of cement, plaster, and so forth. So, sometimes it's difficult getting Wi-Fi outside those walls, and you don't have the ability to move their router, right? It could be, goodness, it could be on the second floor in the back of the home, and you have a doorbell camera outside in the front of the home. So this is a, after the fact, the customer, this isn't working, my doorbell's choppy, it keeps disconnecting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the panel is likely somewhere in the middle. And so you could send the doorbell through the panel SSID, for example, because the panel is also connected to the homeowner's network, right? So again, it has very specific use cases. It's similar to the range of a hotspot on your phone. It is not a hotspot person. We're not pulling data from the cell network. Okay, to be clear. When I talk hotspot range, it is literally, we're talking, 3 to 5. No, sorry, no, 5. Let's call it 5 to 6. 5 to 6 meters maybe in range, so nothing crazy, and it does have its limitations. You're not, as I mentioned, it's not a whole home thing. You're not putting all the alarm.com cameras on it. Alarm.com has other tools for that, repeaters and so forth, but it can be a useful tool and a kind of get you out of a jam. Through software and Google and actually a lot of you or our JCI colleagues, we support currently 13 languages, I believe. Anyways, and it's just through the flick of a switch, literally on the panel. It's not a separate panel. It's not a separate SKU. You configure and pull down a menu and flip the language to another language. So very, very simple.
Yeah, just like you do on your tablet, right?
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, and same thing when you pull up the wizard right from the beginning, and I'll show you this. There it says, please select your language before you even start the wizard. So you're not walking through an English wizard and then changing the language later, right? You can change the language right from the get-go at the wizard, and then it will be changed throughout. So, so I'm going to talk about just maybe 2-3 quick things, and then we're going to take a question break, and then we're going to talk hardware and technical configuration and our tools. We have awesome troubleshooting tools and so forth. So one is panel glass break detector. Okay, we want to leverage the hardware we have for other things. When, I've always told this story about the, let's call it the iPhone or whatever we want to say, since it was kind of the first touchscreen, we think, right? Phone. But when Apple came out with the first iPhone, it was very, very, it had this awesome hardware and very limited applications, right? From what we know today, right? But eventually there became this app store, and then we see the thing today that we have, which is crazy. And similar to that story, for those 500 million applications, and granted some of them are the same, but still for all of those applications to be using the exact same hardware in a different way is like mind-boggling. So, and that's kind of our thought on this is, we have hardware, we have this panel camera, we have these microphones on the bottom that we typically use for two-way voice interaction with the ARC or the monitoring station, depending on your region. And you know, let's face it, two-way voice is not actually really used hardly ever. Hopefully it's never used, right? Because you don't have the alarm situation where you need it. But it's unused hardware. They've got two microphones there, just not doing anything. So what can we do with that? So there's two things. There's this panel glass break detector. Again, similar to the access point. This does not replace a glass break sensor that's on the wall that covers the entire room and all the windows. This is like a conveniently, you know, hey, it looks like your panel is going to go here. Oh, by the way, it looks like there's glass in this door right where we're going to put the panel, or there's a window next to it, you know, within that kind of 5 to 8 meters, you know, range. And it's free. It's, you know, we're going to cover this area for free because the microphones are built in here, and I can flip a switch and configure this that when the glass breaks, it puts a panel into an alarm and sends a signal, you know, to the ARC, right? Just as, you know, it's called panel glass break instead of living room or family glass break detector.
Jared, let me chime in here. So, you know, you said it's free, which is true. We're not giving there's no additional charge to activate that software, you know, in the panel, but you can either locally on the panel or remotely from alarm.com activate that, which enables you as the installer to monetize that. So you could say, hey, this is an added bonus. Maybe it's if you sign today, I'll activate the built-in glass break detector for free. Normally, I would charge $20 for that, or $100 for that, or whatever you want to do. Or you could down the road hold it back and send him an email and say, hey, by the way, your panel has a built-in glass break detector. Would you like to activate that? Normally, it's $100, but we're doing it this month for 50% off for the holidays. You know, would you like to do that? And you can activate it then. So there's real opportunities for you to earn some extra money here by using the software that we put into the solution.
Yeah, and you know, Jared, the other thing is it is a foot in the door to upselling more product. What is your customer going to say when you say, hey, I covered this, and this is going to cover the windows right here, and it, you know, let's say it doesn't cost anything, right? It's covered. The very next thing that person's going to ask is, well, I have glass over here too, and I have glass in my bedrooms, and what about the windows over here? Well, okay, yeah, I can do that. I have more product on my truck. You know, let's do it. I'll give you a good deal, blah, blah, blah. You know, you sold 4 more glass break shock detector, you know, whatever you want to call them. So it's really a good kind of entry. Now, again, you know, all of this is software, right? All of this is, we're using the exact same hardware. We've enabled through software and software updates all of these features, right? And they will continue to come for a long time. This is probably the number one kind of selling, I would say, between this and the doorbell camera. This is Bluetooth. So we use the Qualcomm Bluetooth radio to pair to 5 of your cell phones, and therefore those, through kind of a detection area or just the, you know, the Bluetooth range and coverage, when you get within range of the panel, which is likely closer to your front door, so you're kind of outside the doorstep, all this magic happens, right? So the panel detects your phone. Your phone, you know, sends a message back, basically, yes, you know, authenticated, whatever you want to call it. Panel then disarms. Okay, well, I guess that's okay. Nothing really special. But then you have all these rules from alarm.com. It says, oh, but when this happens, unlock my door, turn on the light, change the temperature, and so forth. Now there's a couple things I want to mention here about this. One, this is a convenience device, right? So just like a keychain, a key fob, or your 4-button Bisonic, you know, remote, this is convenience, just like that device. If you lose it, the difference is there are more ways to get rid of it than your keychain. And let's face it, if I lose my keychain, I'm not going back to the restaurant 20 minutes away to find my little fob. I'm just going to delete it. I don't care. And I probably don't care about it. It's a cheap little device, whatever. Who loses their phone longer than misplaces their phone longer than 30 seconds before they're like, oh my goodness, where's my $1,000 or 15, $800 euro or pounds, whatever the conversion or your cost is. But your very expensive pocket computer, every and granted, yeah, some people lose it, but the awesome thing is that through the manufacturer, you can wipe the phone, right? Bluetooth is disabled. Through alarm.com, you can remotely remove the phone, or not even remove the phone. Just like if you lost a credit card, I want to put it on hold until I find it in my car because I didn't actually lose it. You can disable the function and feature of the Bluetooth disarming, and then when you find it, turn it back on again, or if you don't find it, delete it, right? So there's all these little ways, and the Bluetooth, it's encrypted to the panel and so forth. But the second thing is on the panels in Europe and the UK today, you of course have a configuration setting for EN, right? To comply with EN or not. When you hit that button, some things change, of course, to comply. One of them is Bluetooth. Having EN enabled will disable Bluetooth. This is being changed in a upcoming software update as well, where this will be in the panel software properly, I guess. So right now, I mean, you can use it, you can play with it, and if you have police response systems and so forth, and you want to use it, go to town. When you enable EN, because it's an EN installation, it will disable the Bluetooth. So just an FYI. The other is the panel camera, and this will be my last little jib jab, and then we'll get into technical. We'll stop for a couple questions here. Again, through software, goodness, there are a handful of different things that we're using the panel camera for. It's one simple, hardware piece that we are. When you disarm the panel, it takes a photo, right? Now, this is cool for residential because, you get that, well, was that my daughter that came home, or did my daughter give her code to 5 boys? Well, now I know because I actually get to see who it was, right? And that will snap a picture, send to alarm.com, and then through some forwarding on alarm.com, recipients, that'll go to my watch, my phone, my email, whatever it may be. The other is alarm video. We record 4 minutes of video, basically the timer of the default siren timeout. Currently, that stays local to the panel. And all of these images that stay on the panel, you can download to an SD card, a micro SD card, and have them for, whatever, if you have to give them to the police or just personal or whatever it may be, you can unload or offload that. Peek in, so very similar to a peer cam. You can request an image from alarm.com. The peer cam snaps a photo, sends it to your phone. You can do this with the panel camera as well. So, hey, show me a photo right now, and it will snap a photo and send it to you. The next one is peek in on next motion. So the panel camera also acts as, in a way, a motion sensor. It's actually through pixel change. So it's not IR, right? It's not a security. It can't see at night. And so therefore it is essentially a 24-hour zone where it resets every 4 minutes. And therefore I can trigger events. So because it's still on alarm.com, I can create an event based off of that trigger. So when the camera detects motion because of the pixel change, change the temperature in that room, or turn on the light, or send a photo to my phone. And then through the motion, the other thing is, okay, so I have this cool keychain, I have the app, I have the Bluetooth, I've disarmed it from down the street, but I don't get the disarm photos anymore because I'm not actually disarming from the panel anymore. So what happens is the panel can tell the difference between a remote disarm and a local, like manual disarm. So remote disarm, Bluetooth, fob keychain application, the panel sees a remote disarm command and knows automatically the next time the panel camera detects motion, take that photo, send it to the phone, because likely when you disarm the panel, the next person that's walking past that camera is likely going to be you, right? Or the person that disarmed it. So anyway, so let's have a few questions, and then I'm going to talk hardware and technical configuration and all that fun stuff.
Awesome. So the first thing is, many of you noticed, I put a link in the chat to a YouTube playlist called 3G to LTE upgrades. I designed this primarily for people who are looking to take their existing 3G accounts and upgrade them to LTE to show off how easy it is to install the panel. But I wanted to share with you today because I wanted you to see, how easily it was that someone could do take a Honeywell panel over and put IQ panel in its place, or a DSC Impasa, or an Interlogic system, or things, or even do hardwire. So there's some good videos in there that you can watch on your own at a later date. So take a look at those when you can. James asked a question for you, Jer. He says, is the panel backed up to the cloud in case damage or some kind of problem occurred with the panel? Is there any kind of cloud-based backup?
Yeah, so very good question. So yes, alarm.com does have backup. And actually, they periodically take a backup kind of automatically. You can, if you have any panels that are online with alarm.com, or at least Qualys panels that I know of. I know I've never taken a backup on the panel that's in my home currently, but if I log on right now, it will show me a date that says, hey, your panel was last backed up on this date. Now, if you have a panel that buggered up, or whatever it may be, you can go into alarm.com, say backup now, and that's going to back up everything except for your Z-Wave devices. Okay, that is a work in progress. It's just the nature of the Z-Wave network and protocol. And we're working on that to be able to back that up, actually. But your PowerG, sensor IDs, the user codes, all the configurations and settings that were changed, all of that will back up to alarm.com. And then essentially what you would do is what's called a module swap. And when you say module, our panel, as I mentioned, the quote unquote, the module that we're talking about, the cellular radio, is built as one, right? It's one piece that's built on the board. So that is the module when we talk module swap. And in our case, it's just the panel. So you back it up, you hit module swap, and you'll power down that panel. You will type in the new IMEI for the new panel that you want to replace it with. Hit OK. It's essentially swapped from one panel to another, and then you power that panel on, run a cell test that talks to alarm.com, and then in a couple minutes, the panel's going to act like it's possessed and is going to start talking all on its own, and it's going to say front door added, back door added, garage door added, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because all of that backup is now being pushed and downloaded to that new panel. The only thing you'll have to as I mentioned, repair the Z-Wave devices. And because of the nature of PowerG, as we all know, it's two-way communication, right? So you will have to activate via tamper. You'll have to tamper those PowerG devices again for those to re-network to that new PowerG radio that's in that new panel. But all of the devices, front door, back door, et cetera, all the IDs will be there. They just have to re-network, right?
So great answer. And James, thank you for the great question. It was a very good one you asked. Colin asked what I think is an excellent question. What are the things you've done to make training and manuals easier?
I'm sorry, I just space cadeted. What was that question?
So what are the things you've done to make training and instruction manuals or installation manuals easier?
Yeah, so
let me dive in a little bit on it first, and then you can clarify anything there. Yeah, so, Colin, one of the things we've done is we've created what we call a dealer portal. And on that dealer portal, you'll find a section dedicated to technical downloads. We have manuals for almost every single device on there. And I personally, when we first started producing this product line, created a very easy template for our documentation. So really giving you the keys, to install something the right way, very simply. It always kind of annoyed me when you get an installation manual and you'd have to, flip past 4 pages of legal text to get to one page that was almost all text-based. And we really try hard to make our manuals very visual, screenshots, icon-based, but a bigger part of that is providing you with a system and a solution that doesn't necessarily even require manuals. I've had times where we will literally have 10-year-old children program the system by simply reading what's on the screen and performing the actions. We call the on-screen wizard that Jeremy was showing just a little while ago the built-in installation manual. If you power up a panel, the first thing you see is press here to start the installation manual, installation wizard. And it says, okay, now enter your Wi-Fi. And you enter your Wi-Fi credentials and you click next. And then it says, okay, I'm going to run some system tests. And okay, now it's time to, pair your Z-Wave devices. Plug the Z-Wave device in and press the button, and then press the button here on the panel. So we try to really make it a very, very simple, almost anyone can do it. And Jeremy had mentioned earlier, if we make this easy enough that an end user could do this, then that's just going to make, your ability as an experienced technician be that much better. But then on top of that, we also have online training. And if you log on to the dealer portal, which we'll put a link to that to register for that in the chat. If you log into the dealer portal, the very first tab is training. And we've got sales training and technical training and device training. And you can go through those courses. It'll probably take you an hour or two to finish the technical training course. Much of what you've seen in here, but with a little bit more detail. And your technicians, the other people on your team, should feel very trained at that point. If after going through the online training, participating in a webinar, and going on the dealer portal and looking at the assets that are on there, you still don't feel trained, that's when we say, hey, you know what else can we do for you? Let's have some personal one-on-one sessions. Let's get our technical account team into your building or on a Zoom call or whatever with you to try and have a conversation and fill in all the gaps for you. So I think we've done some really great things to make training easier, faster, and that's not just on the experience side, but it's also on the documentation and video side as well. Jeremy, anything to add on that?
Nope, that's awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Another question was about thermostats. Adam wants to know, how are thermostats installed, and will they go on any boiler? Are they easy to fit? I don't know the answer for that for United Kingdom, so maybe Paul can chime in on that one.
Yeah, sure. So we have a product called heating controls. The thermostat, we call it a smart stat, is actually a 24-volt device, but it controls through the software. It controls 220-volt relays to form the heating system. So on something like a combi boiler, very simple. If you've got like a Y-plan or S-plan system, it gets a little bit more involved, but it's still relatively simple to do that.
Great, thank you for that. Jeremy, question from Lefteris. Are there any compatible wireless Z-Wave switches in Europe to turn on lights? In the US, we've seen some products. What's available in Europe? And I'm assuming we're talking about Z-Wave.
As far as Z-Wave devices go, I guess let me explain. Z-Wave for the most part is a very standard protocol. So a Z-Wave switch, let's call it a light switch, is very simple. It will send a command class to a controller. In this case, the controller is the panel. And it will tell the panel, hi, my command class is, XYZ, but also my function, whatever you want to call it, is off on. And so we're able to, we translate that. It's, we allow pairing of any Z-Wave device because Z-Wave is, we're part of the Sigma Alliance or Z-Wave Alliance. And so we have to actually enroll any Z-Wave device. Now, whether or not we recognize and have built an experience around that specific device is another question. But for the most part, a light switch for the most part is going to work. Now, the kind of underlying factor is we can't neither us or alarm.com can test every single one-off light switch, mini switch controller that goes behind the thing, dimmer, one that sends energy, one that doesn't send energy, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what we have done, and you'll find this on the alarm.com website, is they have a list of tested / supported devices that work through their back end, right? And that they've essentially curated, so they can essentially put their stamp of approval. Hey, I know there's all these other devices, but these ones, these specific ones, we know they work end to end, and we've tested them. So, not saying that you can't use the others, but you should use one of these because we can support it properly. So, with that, you know, I don't know brands here and there very specifically. You know, Fibro, I know, or Fibaro is a big brand. I think there are a handful of switches that we in alarm.com support. Some are a microcontroller that actually sits behind a typical wall switch. Some replaces a wall switch. Some are a plug-in, and so forth. But that list actually you can find on the alarm.com website.
Great answer. Michael Lynch wants to know, what sort of battery life do devices have, and does the IQ panel have a way of knowing when the battery is getting low?
Yes, yeah, good question. So, you know, I'm not sure if Paul Andrews is on and able to reply. As far as a PowerG, you know, we're supporting your Visonic, you know, PowerG.
Yeah, it's the same sensors that if you're using Visonic, it's the same exact sensor. So from a battery life, there shouldn't be any difference, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
no, I've just answered that, gents. I just put in the comments there. Depending upon which device you're particularly talking about, because they do vary, obviously, from the vanishing contact to the PIR, etc. I've put the link into the page of all the devices. So if you want to see a particular device, just click on the link and choose the item, and it will give you a typical battery life. You know, obviously everything is dependent upon usage. We had a customer who put a door contact on a chippy door. So every time someone was opening the door for some chips and gravy, the battery was obviously being drained. So they got 6 months on it, you know. So it depends on its usage, really. But we do give a typical battery life on our website.
Yeah, retail.
Yeah, with PowerG,
especially
you know,
commercial and retail, right? Front door in a retail space is going to burn a battery much quicker than the back door on your home or a garage.
Exactly.
And a sensor placed very far away from the panel is going to have to broadcast, you know, a little bit louder, for lack of a better term, you know, so it's going to use more battery life, just, you know, creating the kind of range, as opposed to one that's close up to the panel that is not going to have to use very much battery at all, because it can essentially whisper its signal to the panel because of how close it is. That's one of the advantages of having that two-way communication in PowerG devices.
Yeah, and then the other one for the panel itself, we meet and exceed a 24-hour backup battery for the panel itself. Okay, well, you know, we're at
one more question I want to take, and then we'll move on. Jared asks, can the panel access point used to be connect a few wireless cameras? This is used in an area where there is no Wi-Fi. The panel access point is basically used as a problem solver. So in the event that the IQ panel is closer to your camera than your camera is to the router, you can, you know, if it happens to be installed between the router and the camera doesn't have enough, you know, strength, or the router doesn't have enough strength to reach the camera, then the IQ panel can help bridge that gap. But, you know, it does need to be in that kind of scenario, and it doesn't work in all scenarios. So I wouldn't use it as a way of creating your own private network for cameras. We are working on some products that will release next year that will help accomplish that. But as of right now, this is primarily meant, like Jeremy Blakeney said earlier, as a problem solver in the event that you've got a camera that's just a little bit on the outside edge of that Wi-Fi, and you just need to give it a little boost by going through the panel instead of directly to the.
You know, and I think part of that question, you know, mentioned, oh, if there is not Wi-Fi. So just to clarify as well, the panel is not a hotspot. So the panel is not pulling internet or data through the cellular channel like your phone and then rebroadcasting an SSID where you can hotspot something off your phone and you know, use that internet. So that is not possible. It is essentially a repeater, an extender, you know, a bridge, where the panel must be connected to the homeowner's network, Wi-Fi network, to be able to broadcast an SSID so that the panel, or sorry, my apologies, so that the camera can get a feed, right? So anyways, okay, so we're gonna move here. We have 30 minutes, and I want to talk about some hardware and of course the topic, which is, you know, technical. It's very, very good still, and the reason, whether it's a technical presentation or not, for you as installers or technical managers or whatever your position in the company you're with, is very important to understand the in and out and the capabilities of the panel, because what's going to happen, your salespeople are going to know it. You're not, because all you learned was, you know, how to configure a panel for the most part. And you get to a home and you see the work order says, set this up, set that up, set up their phones on Bluetooth, put the doorbell camera, make sure it's on the screen. And you're like, what? This can do all that? How do I do that? You know, so this is preparing you for those situations, and so you understand better, you know, the entire solution of this platform, right? So on you know, on the hardware side, I want to mention a couple quick things. One is powering the panel. This is very much like a tablet. There's actually a button on the side of the panel. And so therefore, you know, probably traditionally today, you plug in the battery, you plug it in the wall, and your panel turns on. This will not do that, actually. You have to hold the button on the side for the panel to turn on. Very similar to a phone. If your panel is dead, if your phone is dead, so I'll talk about this as well with the battery, right? If your battery is completely dead, just like it is on your phone, it has to get a charge to a certain percent first before it will actually turn on. Because on a phone and on our panel and all these things, and your computer and whatever it may be, like we're running an actual OS, like an actual operating system, right? So there are processes and there are boot up and boot down and all these things that happen. It's not like traditional, just stick it in the wall and turn it on, and if I have a problem, just unplug it and basically, you know, I've just defibrillated my panel and crossed my fingers and hope that it's going to turn on and everything's going to be magical and working again. There are processes. There are, if you want to power it down, and the awesome thing is that your customer doesn't have to do this. If they're calling you and your number one troubleshooting is, okay, well, let's power down the panel, totally fine. You can do that still. But for your homeowner, the end user, it's easier for them to pull down the menu, punch in their code, hit reboot than it is searching through all their doors in the garage for a screwdriver to unplug it from the wall or unplug it from the back or pull them in and all these things, right? So pull down the menu, reboot. There's another button called power down. If the panel's locked up or it's, you know, being super crazy, you can force power down the panel just like you can do your laptop. Hold the button on the side for 30 seconds. It'll force the panel to shut down, okay? So just kind of be aware of that. The other is power. You're going to notice that in all of the boxes that you have, it is a very North American looking power supply, but with a UK or EU, a Type C or Type G prong or plug type. that has these two, has this cable that's fastened onto the terminals, and there's a little barrel jack, right? This is the way it was certified with EN and CE. We worked with those representatives in your area to get an inline power supply option. So that's actually coming soon. So for those in Spain and other parts of Europe, or those in the UK that want to hardwire straight to the spur and all that jazz, you will be able to do that with this inline power supply coming. So it is a 7-volt power supply DC. Okay, I know you guys aren't doing super crazy wire runs throughout the entire home because of the construction type. So I'm not super worried about the length longer than 33 meters. We do support 2 hardwired inputs, and a big question that I continue to get: no, the panel does not have any programmable output. We do have an output, but it is very, very basic, and it is very basic also because of how little the power is coming into the panel. So even for a hardwired siren into the panel, you must still use an inline wire inline, another 12-volt DC power supply, and then your siren cannot have a larger draw than 300 milliamps. And essentially it's a loop, right? So it's like a light switch. The panel goes into alarm. It's hard coded this way. The panel goes into alarm, the loop closes, it allows the power to pass through, it comes out of alarm, and therefore the power, stops, right? The circuit is open. So it's very simple. We do have, and talk to your local representatives, we do have a device coming shortly. It's called a wired to wireless module, I guess, per se. We call it a translator, where you can take all of the hardwired existing system that may be there, whether it be a siren and all the hardwired devices and so forth, door contacts, motion sensors, wire them into this device, and that device will wirelessly, through the PowerG protocol, send those signals to the IQ panel. And that does have some flexibility with some PGMs, and that is continually that was just released in North America even in July. I think it's coming to your region very, very shortly. So that is also, as far as additional support and more functionality, that is continually being worked on. And now I want to show a video, because I want you to have a good experience, because if you don't watch this, you're going to send a bunch of emails swearing at me or one of the people that we work with. The most difficult, the panel is the easiest, I promise you, the easiest thing to configure and to program and to use. It is very intuitive. The most difficult thing to do with the panel is actually opening it and closing it. And so therefore, if that's the most difficult part of the installation, and after 5 installs you're like, okay, I got no problem, then that's, we've done a pretty decent job, I think. The panel kind of snaps together more than it does hinge and, do this nice elegant thing. It's kind of, we call it a clamshell. But I'm going to show you a video, because I want you to kind of have this in your mind. And I don't know, Jared, I thought we were using Teams. I never even thought, because it plays better on Teams. But Jared, just let me know if this video comes across all, crazy. But I want you to see this, because when you get it out of the box, follow the little quick guide and look at the kind of instructions on how to open and close, because it definitely is unique. But I promise, after a few tries, say 5 installs or a couple just sitting it on your lap or installing it in your own home, once you have your light bulb aha moment, you'll never have an issue, and it will be, just like any other panel will take, 10 seconds to close. So I'm going to play this. Jared, tell me if this is all wonky.
Video here today to show you how to close the panel. We're representing our friends up north in Canada with our Qualsa t-shirt today, but I want to show you 2 different ways to close the panel to make it easy.
Hey, is that coming across okay, Jared?
Yeah, there's a little bit of stuttering, but it's not bad.
Okay. It's just, it's like 45 seconds or something. Whoops.
Yeah, go back and start over. I think it was fine.
Okay, cool.
All right, welcome guys. We thought we'd shoot this quick little video here today to show you how to close the panel. We're representing our friends up north in Canada with our Qualsa t-shirt today, but I want to show you 2 different ways to close the panel to make it easier for you. So I'm going to start by opening it up here. I press the bottom button here. All right, we'll do this side, and we'll kind of unlatch it. Now there's 2 ways. This is an older back plate. As you can see, my antenna is routed inside the wall through the lower right-hand screw hole. If you had the updated back plate, you'd have a dedicated hole for your antenna here. Very important. So we'll just touch on that while we're talking about this. Now, 2 ways to close this: bottom to top or top to bottom. So I'll show you bottom to top first. I like to go bottom to top because it allows me to get my antenna all the way down inside the wall there. And so what I do is I don't worry about the top, and I just simply latch the bottom, leave the top out completely. And then these are what we call snap tabs. And you're going to take your thumb on the edge of the screen, and you're going to push downward at a 45-degree angle until you hear it snap. And there should be 4 of them. 2, 3, 4. There you go. Missed that one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Super tight, nice and easy. It's downward pressure on the face of the glass there, kind of at a 45-degree angle. All right, now we'll show you the top-down method.
All right, I'm going to leave it at that. You know, that's probably the well, I would say, for my opinion, the easiest way to install the panel. And I apologize if there's a bunch of background noise. I have like a few contractors in my home right now. But it does snap together, right? So if you get Kevin's kind of video here, and I don't know if you heard it super well, but the panel snaps together, right? Clip in the bottom is very simple. There are 2 kind of spring-loaded tabs, and just kind of sandwich the panel together from there, and then give that pressure down on the top of the screen. The back essentially rolls kind of up over these tabs in the back, and when you squeeze it, it will. You'll hear there's four places that it will snap together. So let me. Okay, I'm gonna flip a screen. You know, we have about 20 minutes. And I want to get into some good, hearty, meat and bones here to, what you've all come.
While you're pulling that up, Jerry, I want to answer a question that Graham asked. Sure. Is there going to be a charging dock made available to allow the panel to be more mobile around the home? The answer to that is not likely. I think there's, when you see a tablet like you see, in the picture on the screen, you look at it, you're like, man, that's really beautiful. It's really easy. I would love to be able to take that off the wall and go sit on the couch with it, or go, go walking around. I'll use it in the kitchen right now, and then later on, I'll take it to the bedroom or things like that. Yeah, and while that would be nice, at the same time, also consider what you're carrying around in your pocket all day and every day is your smartphone. If you want to be able to do those kind of things, the alarm.com app available on your smartphone gives you that capability. And if you add things like voice control or maybe, integration with the Apple Watch, then you've got that wherever you go in the home. The other thing is the wireless radios built into the panel, need to be able to work in the most optimized fashion possible. And if you take what was optimized for, call it the living room, you put it right in the center of your home, installed on the wall in the living room so everybody can see it and access lights, locks, thermostats, and cameras. And then later on, you decide to pull it out and go walk into the bedroom. Now things that were previously connected maybe have a harder time connecting, and it defeats kind of the connectivity of the panel. So we don't want to defeat that connectivity there. But also we want to make sure that you don't end up losing it. Let's say you take it and you leave it in your bedroom, and then someone comes home and it's time to disarm the panel, and you can't find it because it's not on the wall. It's now, under the bed or on the side table or things like that. Keeping it in one location creates consistency throughout the home that ensures that the disarm photos are taken the right way, that the radios are working the right way, and things like that. And if you want that mobility throughout the home, the alarm.com app is a great way to do it. So great question there. Jer,
Okay.
if you're showing a screen right now, we can still only see the PowerPoint. So there it goes.
Yep.
Now we can see it.
Yep. Preparing it on the other one. Okay, so so this is the panel, right? So this is, for all of those that have not seen, this is a real live, you know what, and I'll even, so I'm not, so you don't think I'm doing any weird magic here. I mean, it is kind of magical, but hey, how's it going? You can see my video, but this is what is on the screen, right? So, and I think we have a bit of a glare, but as you can see,
Jared, turn
touch
your
it.
brightness down on the panel. That'll help.
Yeah, all good. I don't need, well, it's actually down quite a bit. But anyways, you can just see from the screen here, right? Like this is a live working monster on my screen, okay? So, so what I want to show you are these, this is the basic layout, right? I won't go too crazy into this. This is the panel. You see these doors spinning. You will actually see this, and so a little tip here: these are PowerG devices that are just no longer in my home on this, you know, this kind of tabletop panel, because I, you know, test, remove, delete, bring them somewhere else. So after you reboot your panel, all of your PowerG devices you're going to see have this spinning little circle here, indicating that they are trying to re-pair or re-network to the radio itself, to the panel. So therefore, hold on, sorry about that. So anyways, once you'll see all of these eventually drop off, okay, of your panel as they re-network to that new card. So as we mentioned before, you know, when you do that backup, for example, when you power up that new panel, excuse me, you're also going to have these circles spinning because they're waiting to connect. Excuse me, waiting to connect to this radio. Okay, so this is the, you know, arm disarm screen, right? Arm stay, arm away. I can open up this tray. This is where I would bypass all my devices, so I can see all. And you can see right now it's actually automatically bypassing the front door and the motion sensor because they are not found, right? They're continually circling, so they will automatically bypass because that is the setting that I have configured. But as an end user, they can keep this pane open for a little more advanced arming. I can swipe away or touch outside, and then when I go to arm it again, it stays open, right? Otherwise, if I close it, it will stay closed. So it's kind of simple arming. And then again, I'm just going to breeze through this here, the kind of the UI. I have one light. Again, it's obviously not connected to my panel. I can touch this light bulb. It will turn on. If I touch this little lightning bolt right here, it will actually show me. So this is saying this device can actually monitor the energy that's currently plugged into it. So it can tell me in kilowatts how much it is drawing, how much electricity it's drawing. And then that goes through to alarm.com. So alarm.com is able to kind of put that all together and show you something cool, you know, in a graphical interface and, you know, energy monitoring. And then there's a thermostat. Again, it is not connected. I could select off, on, you know, change the temperature up and down. If I change this, it's going to end up just malfunction because it's not with me. But essentially what I want to kind of show you is are these pages. These pages are dynamic. When you pull the panel out of the box, you don't get all of these pages. You get security, you get this, you know, manage my system or manage my home page where the end user can see, okay, cool, everything's green. My panel is connected to Wi-Fi, my software is up to date, and I have my Bluetooth on because I'm using my Bluetooth because it's cool and awesome. And perhaps, you know, another day they flip to this screen and the software update turns red. Say, oh, okay, cool. Well, it looks like there's a new software update available for my panel, and there will be an update button, and they can hit the update if they choose. And then this page is the panel disarm camera screen. So just as a quick little, you know, hopefully my code is still 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to disarm. Yep, cool. So my panel is just facing up right now, but if I scroll backwards, you see I have an image, right? And that's just facing up underneath my screen and some cupboards. So this is my panel disarm screen, right? So you can see I can unload it onto an SD card, and all my videos and everything will show up here as well. So let me get into, I'm going to show you kind of the flow and some of the troubleshooting, some of the tools that we have very quickly. Whenever you pull your panel out of the box, I'm going to show you, I'm going to go into settings and then hit advanced settings. And for you as an installer, there are two different codes, 1111 and 2222 by default. I don't expect you to remember those right now. They are, for the most part, essentially the same. 2222 is more used. If you want to mash or reset the panel to factory default, you would use that code, and there's an additional setting, but for the most part, they're like 99% identical. So let's enter our installation with 1111. And I'm going to show you, so you can see right here's a setup wizard. And I'm going to launch the wizard, and this panel is on an older software version, but you can see I have this start button, and it's going to start guiding me through. I'm not going to go through every single page, that we don't have enough time, but I'm going to show you kind of the flow here. I can hit this little hamburger, and so it says welcome, and then it goes to my network. It's going to start checking my dual path. It's going to perform a cellular test. It's going to then do a system check. It'll check, is my battery charged? Is the panel getting enough power? Is the PowerG card even working? Is the Z-Wave card working? And so forth. It kind of goes through this panel check to make sure that you don't go so far down the road in the installation, come to find out that something's not working right. And then it goes to security. So then it allows me to pair security devices, and I'll show you kind of how that works on another screen. I pair my security devices. It gives me a sensor test. I can enable the panel glass break sensor, and then runs me through to Z-Wave. Again, I'll show you that here in a second separately. And Z-Wave, again, is very simply enrolled. It'll allow me to do Bluetooth, pair my IQ remote, change the users and dealer information, and then, of course, update the panel to the most recent software build. Now, something I want to mention is through templates, through alarm.com, you can change the flow of your wizard, especially for right now, where you may be not allowed in homes to install security. You may have to perform more of a do it together or DIY type of installation, and therefore you may not be offering Z-Wave Bluetooth or the IQ remote or all these things to a customer, so you don't want them to have that kind of cumbersome experience of just so much information. You can configure that through alarm.com to where the wizard will only show the pages that are relevant to them, and you can do that through a template. Okay, so I'm going to exit the wizard. I'm going to show you a few configuration sensor and Z-Wave pages, and then I'm going to end on some troubleshooting tools, and then we'll have a few questions. So we're going to pull down this menu. I'm going to select settings, advanced settings, 1111, right? That's my installer code. And then I'm going to install something, right? So I have this installation. Hit installation, and I have devices. You can see these other settings or these other icons. These are where you'd find all those other configuration settings. Under installer settings gives you a list of different options that you can enable and disable. Siren and alarms, again, the behavior of your siren delay, what type of siren, when, different alarm types, and then security and arming, your entry exit delays, how a key fob behaves, and some of those other features. So I'm going to hit devices because I'm going to show you one of a couple of these. I'm going to show you the security sensors and the Z-Wave devices very quick here. So when I select security, I have two options. There is auto learn, which is just going to open up this listening feature, right? So when I hit auto learn, my panel is actually listening right now for a PowerG device. So if I had a PowerG device, I would press and hold the learn button or pull the battery tab out from the device. It will then communicate to the radio that is listening, and then will appear and pop up on the panel. And I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like. So if I go to add sensor manually, you can see it's on PowerG. I'm going to type in, for example, let's say it popped up with, you know, a door window contact, right? And let's say here's the ID. So you can see I have some options. You know, I have these entry, exit, delays. Don't worry about these numbers on the side. Just worry about the word that's written out for you. This is an instant interior door, or an entry exit, but with a longer delay. And then I can change my sensor name to these very simple, quick names, or I can use a custom description, and I can call it whatever I want. Now, literally, if I don't know, I could call it "take your shoes off" if I want to, and the panel will speak whatever is in this field when that door opens, when that door activates. Okay, and then you have a chime type and the voice prompts, and then essentially I just select Add New, right? Custom description should not be empty. Okay, well, front window, Add New. So now the device is adding, and it will, boom, added successfully. Obviously that was a fake sensor, but you can see here is my list. Okay, so that is essentially the same thing that pops up when you're doing this auto enroll. The other is Z-Wave devices. It is always a very good rule of thumb to clear a Z-Wave device before you enroll one. So you hit clear, the panel is now listening for you to press the button on the Z-Wave device. It'll say it has been cleared from the network successfully. Okay, cool. I just hit cancel. I don't have a Z-Wave device. And then add, right? I have these two that are already here. I will hit include. And it's now listening again. I can press that button. It will pair itself, find itself to the panel, and will pop up with, you know, is it a light, lock, thermostat, and I can label it living room, garage, you know, whatever it may be. Okay. The other is this Smart Start. I'll take 2 seconds here. So Smart Start is a much simpler way to add as a Z-Wave device. So Z-Wave now has a protocol called Smart Start, and the manufacturers are starting to support this with QR codes and what is called a DSK. It's essentially this long serial number, but I can I don't have one, but essentially I'll show you on my camera. I actually have a Z-Wave bulb right here, right? And if I were to have the QR code on this Z-Wave bulb, I can scan it from the box or on the device itself, and it will pair to the panel. And then I can just plug it in the wall without ever having to press any buttons. And then I can or either enter the last, what is called the DSK. After I scan it, we'll say enter the last 5 digits of the DSK, essentially, right? And I hit add. And this allows for remote programming as well, which will come later with alarm.com. Again, being able to send something through the mail and remotely program a Z-Wave device and all that, it will just be a phenomenal tool. So lastly, I want to go to this, what's called system tests, and just talk real quick, take a minute or so, and then we'll have these questions. You know, there's a ton of tools here: Wi-Fi test, sensor test, cellular test, Z-Wave, PowerG, you know, all these things. I'm going to touch on just a few quick. You know, you're using PowerG. Well, I'll start here. Cellular test. In your wizard, there is that cellular communication test. If I'm not using the wizard, I'm just going through. I can run a cellular test right now. You can see I am connected to this network. Here is my IMEI. That's the number I register the panel with. I have bars. I can hit start. It will give me a response. It may fail. I don't know if I have an account. There we go. Yeah, I guess I have an account created with alarm.com. So cellular path tested successfully. Perfect. I want to show you Z-Wave tests, and I'm going to show you this Rediscover Network and Z-Wave diagnostic here real quick. So Z-Wave Network, after you move, remove, clear, add, whatever it may be, like Jeremy was talking about with this whole docking station idea, whenever you move something from the network, Z-Wave is a mesh. They need this like kind of support system essentially of more Z-Wave devices, the merrier. And once you have those enrolled, you need to select them all, hit rediscover, and they will find each other and create this network. Okay, they don't do that just automatically by enrolling it. And that way, there are paths that create an efficient network that make sure you have proper, signaling and speed. You don't have latency and lag like that other, scenario I mentioned. You're sitting by the door, you're waiting for it to open, it's taking forever. Okay, that stuff happens because you have one door lock and maybe a thermostat. If you have a door lock and a thermostat and 3 lights and a plug-in and blah, 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 your network is going to be awesome. And the true meaning of smart home and automation is not that I can open the door from my app. Like, that's not what it's about, right? What it's about is convenience and everything working in harmony together, that I can open my door and the light turns on and the temperature changes, or when I punch my code into the door lock, it unlocks the door, disarms the system, it changes this and blah, blah, blah. It goes through that whole thing. That is what smart home is, right? Sorry, it just kicked me out here. And so I'm going to show you, on the Z-Wave test. The other thing is it's Z-Wave diagnostic. We are able to give you a view, like a real view, and there's only 2 devices. I have to show you a different page another time, but this will show you, if you have 15 devices, you're going to see a big spiderweb map here. Right now there's 2, and they're both talking directly to the panel, and of course they're inactive because, as I mentioned before, they're not in range. But this is giving you visibility to the invisible. This is showing you what is this. This is an invisible wireless frequency through the air that you're in a home, and for all you know, everything was working great when you left, and the next day it doesn't. You're like, well, why? Well, because technically that Z-Wave device was a little too far away, and you didn't know it, but the signal was actually not so awesome. It may have worked one time when you were there, but the next 5 times they try to use it, it only worked one more time again. Very inconsistent because it's just not getting through. So the point of that is giving you a tool to see and configure and make sure you have this strong network before you leave the home, so you don't have to come back, right? The other is a PowerG test. I'll show you, right? As I said before, I actually don't have PowerG devices in range because they're somewhere else. But I can run my tests from here, from the panel, get a response back. This will show my good, strong, and so forth. So if I'll show you on this page real quick and we'll end with this. So this is, and I won't go into the presenter view, but you'll get kind of an idea of what this is here, right? So this is that Z-Wave network I mentioned, right? This is like a real network we're talking. And you can see all these devices working off of each other, creating like an awesome, efficient network. When I flip the light on, it's going to turn on. It's going to turn on quick, right? The other is the PowerG test page, which is this one, which gives you strong, good, poor, no signal. I can run an LED test. I can take an image from the peer cam, make sure that I have it angled properly. I can run it from here. I can run it from, of course, you have the LEDs on the device itself as well, right? And last, Jared, is support, right? So being on your side of the planet, you will be able to continue to call your support. They for Visonic, DSC products, they will support Qualsys as well. They will offer that support. I don't yet, so this number doesn't apply, and I apologize. And yes, Machi, I know you're on here. We have some work to do with creating a European EMEA version of our training for you all, instead of sorry it's North American, sorry it's North American. But this is our dealer portal per se, kind of our marketing portal, and you all can get access to this And there's so much content, like Jeremy was talking about, marketing tools, training, videos, leaflets, pamphlets. I mean, anything under the sun. And that's full on. We just want to give it to you, right? And we'll tweak some things for your area to make sure they comply and they're actually relevant. We also have a few apps, an iOS, Android, and then a web emulator that you can use for kind of demonstration to homeowners and users. The web version is a more full. It will actually go in through the settings. So from a technical support point of view, you have an emulator, a panel. Without having a panel on your desk, you have a panel on your screen to walk through tech support over the phone and go through all of these settings. And then lastly is Facebook. You know, and Jer, I don't know if you want to, I mean, create regional based or just hop on here. You know, sometimes things aren't relevant, but we have an awesome support group on Facebook where, you know, technically all these people that are on here are competitors. But as we know, as installers, we don't really care about that. We're just, you know, we have this kind of unique thing about ourselves that, you know, we're fine lending a hand and helping each other out, whether they work for another company or not. And this is exactly what this is. This is tech support coming from the field. These are real installers and real companies that are chiming in and saying, hey, has anyone ever heard of, or hey, does anyone know how to do this and where this is found? And then, you know, within, you know, a day or a few minutes or a few hours, you have all of these people from this network that use Qualsys or alarm.com chime in with, oh yeah, hey, it's right here, or, you know, whatever it may be, lending you a hand, right? So with that, you know, I know we're over, and I apologize. 2 hours is a tough make for so much information, but you know, if there's any questions, Jerry, you want to pop up here at the end?
I think we've covered it all. In fact, as we're looking through the questions, you know, a lot of the things that people are asking are things that were addressed specifically. People were asking about the emulator and how you were showing your screen, you know, panel on the screen. Marios was asking about, you know, being able to do that same thing in the emulator that you showed on slide 20. And we gave him a link in there. But you can get all that from the dealer portal, the emulator, either through the mobile app, do a search in the App Store or the Google Play Store for IQ Panel, or you can log on to the Qualsys dealer portal and be able to get links directly from there. And we did put a link to register for dealer portal access in the chat. So if you didn't get that earlier, look for that. We want to make sure that everybody has access to that. And like Jeremy said, there's lots and lots and lots there. So we hope this has been really beneficial to you guys. I think there's been lots of fantastic questions, so many people participating. We really, truly appreciate it. We have recorded this session. We will be uploading that to YouTube today, and hopefully that will be a bit live on our YouTube site later on this afternoon, and you'll get a link to it in your email tomorrow. Just a reminder that our next webinar coming up will dive deeper into the differentiating features and how to market those, and you know, specifically things you can show from videos or demos, what have you, to an end user to generate some interest. And you might show that, you know, in person, you might show that online, you might show that on your website, you might show that on social. We're going to talk specifically about some of those things and help you guys get to market with this panel and provide yourselves with some of the amazing benefits that comes along with using this amazing platform. So thank you again, everyone, for participating. There is a short survey that will open up after we close the window today, so we'd ask you to complete that. We'll send that same survey out in the follow-up email so that you can complete that there if that's easier for you. But again, thank you for all the participation. We really look forward to the next session. And for those that are getting ready to start their Thanksgiving week, which, you know, that's what's happening here in North America, you know, happy holidays. And we really look forward to talking to you soon.